guys, Rodney Fox here. I'm gonna continue What If Deku was in Piggy Apocalypse. I hope I'm saying my own name right. Sorry guys, I messed up. It was What If Deku was in a Piggy Apocalypse. This is gonna be part 6, and I'm sorry for not posting this one a lot, but anyways, let's go. Okay, so where we left off is where Deku's finding a way to get out. But I forgot to mention this in the last part, and I'm sorry. I was a bit stressed out for a little bit because I had to finish the video. When Recover Girl continuously gets called into where Deku is for his injuries, she asks him each time, like, how does he continuously get these injuries? And Deku does tell her. As Deku told Recovery Girl something that he wants to tell everybody but is ashamed of what's happening to him. He told Recovery Girl that he is in fact infected with the illness, and that the vial somehow was no longer in his possession, but he knows that there's a little bit left. By little, I mean halfway, because the guy poured half of the bottle in and left the other half out. Recovery Girl asked how the bottle looked like. He said it was a normal test tube container with a greenish, almost emerald-like color substance inside. As Recovery Girl said, okay, as she does see the rope, and she asked if Deku is cutting them or are they cutting them for him. Like, she keeps her voice down just in case if the one is outside, which is very unlikely because everyone else is like looking around there and they can't go in while people go looking around. As at that moment, Deku does say yes, he is, and not to tell them, because at one moment he might snap and could injure a lot of people, and he wishes not to do that. So he's telling Recover Girl to continue looking as fast as she can, because Deku says, I might not have a lot of time, that I might still have my brain intact completely. I need you to find the vial, get the antidote, and heal as many people as possible. As at that moment, Recover Girl said, okay, but we have to continue this little act of ours. As Recovery Girl walks out, and she said, okay, it's done. You need to tell me how he continuously get his injuries, or else you guys are gonna be causing, or else something else will happen. As she does talk to one of the Class 1A members that was standing outside for guarding, but since Recovery Girl kept her voice down, they couldn't hear her or Deku, even though Deku's voice has been amped up louder. Okay, so someone spread a rumor how, well, Recovery Girl talked to the other doctors, and she does tell them what Deku told her about him being infected, and the infection does look like a weird fever and a flu, saying that how he has been acting and his temperature rising and falling is the way how an infected was. And they do explain, well, Recovery Girl explained how the serum looks like, and they start looking through people's stuff while everyone is asleep. At that moment, no one has noticed any of their belongings people have noticed that their belongings are moving around. And the guy who was working with Deku's dad is starting to get worried. Like, he might be caught and he will be technically thrown out and put into this area where Deku is. I'm gonna skip like a day later, Momo and the other Class 1A and the people who are involved are like telling Deku how they know about all this, and Momo beats Deku with a bat until Deku had enough. The rope snapped in half. He grabbed the metal bat as at that moment one of Deku's eyes has gone completely black. with only the color of his eye remaining. The other of his eye completely went black at that moment. At that moment, Momo tried to grab the metal bat, but his strength was stronger than ever. He grabbed the metal bat, ripped it out of Momo's hands, and grabbed it and hit her over the head, immediately knocking her out. As Bakugo comes and tries to attack him, he grabs Bakugo by the neck and literally uses the backhand of the bat and smacks his arms, breaks his shoulder blades. Like, anybody who has dealt with a problem with their shoulder blades and people who have gotten injuries with shoulder blades being the main problem, that's what's happening to Bakugo. He feels his arms dislocating from their spot at that moment. He couldn't felt his arms. As Todoroki tries to attack him, as Deku grabs Todoroki by the neck and slashes his stomach open. At that moment, all the other people in Class 1A and the other people were trying to attack Deku, but Deku fended them off. Right now, Shoji has lost all of his arms, but he can regrow them, so Deku knows that will be a problem. Ida tries to attack him, and he cuts off one of Ida's legs with his own bare teeth. He bit Ida's leg completely clean off. Like, you could see a little bit of bite marks on what remains of Ida's leg, which is a nub. As All Might, he still had the fortune of still having the quirk in, like the remnants, as he tried to attack, as Deku unleashes very much a powerful punch, the same powerful punch that led All Might to have his injury on his injury, so All Might went flying through several walls. Aizawa tried to cancel his quirk, and the previous All For One users like, yeah, no, he's your problem. We are staying here because this is your guys' fault. You could deal with this, as they release every restraint on Deku. As all of them said at once in Deku's mind, saying, have fun. As Deku went technically on a rampage at that moment, all over Class 1A and the people who were a part of it. As Aizawa did lose the vision in his eyes. President Mike can no longer use his voice. Midnight has basically gotten torn to pieces. By torn to pieces, I merely mean that she is no longer able to move her body. She was paralyzed from her entire neck down. Every other student was either killed, injured, or basically knocked out. Todoroki is very badly injured. Bakugo could as well, and at that moment Deku looks at Uraraka as the fear in her eyes makes Deku smile. His smile grew so wide that it reached to his neck and it snapped open. His entire head and his mouth that smiled so wild that it reached to his neck snapped open as rows of teeth showed in his mouth. As Deku said goodbye, as he bit hard on Uraraka's head, snapping it off of where it landed on, and completely removed it. Oh, I should have given a warning. I am so sorry, guys. At that moment, the people who are dead was Uraraka, Mineta, Ojiro, and Froppy. One person I'm trying to think of, I forgot Animal Boy's name, but he's the other one who died. Wait, no, Koda. No, that's the little kid. The animal speaker dude. Fairy Tale Princess at this point, that's what everyone's calling him. Like, those people are dead. They will no longer be resurrected or anything. As Bakugo and the other people who were either like badly injured are watching that happen and called Deku a monster. Right then and there, Deku grabs the bat and breaks their legs. And Deku calls out to Recovery Girl to say that there is a number of bodies reported, but since Deku cannot talk completely, half of his voice is stuttering and basically mumbling. Recovery Girl walks in on accident anyway to see if she has to go report what's happening, and saw the entire carnage. She looks at Deku and she's in fear because Deku did say that he might lose control of his body and might harm several people. At that moment, she didn't know if he was talking about the Class 1A and the people who were involved, or other civilians who were actually innocent. At that moment, Recovery Girl did not give a damn because this is what they get for torturing someone who is actually following their love while trying to find them because they took them away from him by shooting her and paralyzing her. At that moment, Deku walks out, still having the symptoms of the infected. He looks out, and everyone was like in horror because they see how Deku looks like. At that moment, Deku has grown he grew, like, the infected had grew like a couple more feet in. Deku was literally the size of Mirio. And because of Deku mainly being beaten, half of his body is kind of deformed in a way. His legs were deformed in a way to make him even taller than Mirio. But since Deku infected, the muscle mass that he normally had was doubled in a size. As he looks down on the window, looking sad in the fact that he looks like a monster. He feels like he is a monster to everyone and technically tries to end himself right then and there by swinging the bat to himself and knocking himself out. At that moment, Deku returns to normal and he blacks out. Okay guys, I think this is enough for today.